So here is Babysitting Squee. This is by far the biggest web game I've ever been a part of making, and our whole team honestly had so much fun doing this. It consisted of this one big sort of sandbox type room that you could just play around with. I helped out a bit with sound effects and things like those little star animations you saw here and there, but for the most part I took charge of one of the minigames called bed building. And you trigger that by handing Jelly here one of those key objects. So I'll go ahead and hand that to her and we can dive into bed building. So this minigame had two modes in it. There was gathering and building, and so that in itself was sort of tricky to work out since we'd never really done anything like that in any of our games. I had to come up with two different camera angles or add them in and different logic for how the items would interact in each mode and all of that. So it gets really a lot trickier in build mode, and that's where the real fun starts. So I'll dive into that for a little bit. So I definitely spent most of my time coding this sort of Tetris-like falling logic. I'm pretty sure the only actual physics part came from this floating test here. You know, Squee had a negative gravity on her, and then all the items had static physics bodies attached to them, so they would just lock into place for the test. And the reason it isn't actually using a physics engine for all the item placement is because it would have allowed for way too much chaos, you know, objects falling on top of each other and toppling and all that jazz. This game is for children, after all, so it is really just animations having those items fall into place. The biggest challenge here was just figuring out how to make the items fall within our grid system and how they would fall on top of each other, what they would do when items were taken out from underneath, and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. It's a really cool challenge to work through, honestly. Kind of, you know, I've done this, I think, in a few other games before, just building physics without actually building physics, you know? I do have to say that one of my favorite parts of building this game out, though, was the pathfinding logic with Pogo's arm. This arm was basically just a tiling sprite with a hand asset attached to the end of it, and we all had so much fun building out insane paths for the arm to take and watching it go all, you know, wiggly and weird and move through all the items. And yeah, it was just figuring out the logic for the items with holes too. That was a whole other thing, pun intended, I guess. Then I think the last challenge with this game that I want to touch on here was saving this final bed creation into one image to use for the rest of the game. I had to pull it out for this sticker placing scene here, and then we had to have it show up in the main sandbox room afterwards too. But you know, it was a cool touch for the player to be able to see their creation afterwards in the main room and just, yeah, see exactly what they worked on and remember that for the rest of the time that they're playing the game. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's about it for Babysitting Squee and bed building. Had a lot of fun making this game. It was a great learning experience, and thank you for watching.